Thank you, Senator Butler. Senator Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Coggins, you used to work for Governor Jerry Brown,
That is correct, Senator.
and I believe you advised him on issues regarding parole.
Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, where we expose the truth, defend liberty, and protect the values that made this country great. If you're tired of the mainstream media sugarcoating judicial activism, if you're fed up with unelected bureaucrats rewriting laws from the bench, and if you believe in the Constitution, in personal responsibility, and in justice, then you're in the right place. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Today, we're diving into one of the most jaw-dropping Senate Judiciary Committee moments I've seen in a while. What you're about to hear is not satire. It's not exaggeration. It's straight from a hearing involving two judicial nominees, Judge Coggins and Judge Bulsara, and their shocking responses when pressed about decisions involving actual criminals and actual consequences.
So as the governor under the California Constitution, when the parole board recommends that a inmate be paroled, that matter then comes before the governor to determine whether he's going to reverse that recommendation.
Did you advise him on parole?
I was not advising him. What I provided was a background, all background information. So the nature and circumstances of the particular case that was before us. I was looking at the correctional file. In addition, I was reviewing.
Do you remember a parolee named James Schoenfeld?
I don't, Senator.
Okay. You talked a lot about, as did you all appropriately, about juveniles in your testimony. Governor Brown in 2015 paroled Mr. James Schoenfeld. He was convicted of kidnapping 26 kids, juveniles, and burying them alive. Were you with Governor Brown then?
I left in 2015, so I'm unsure of the time period in which that occurred.
This happened in 2015.
That name is not familiar to me. What I can say is those decisions
Do you
are.
remember the case?
I do not.
Okay. When it happened, it got a lot of publicity in California. Did you call Judge Brown or Governor Brown and say, Governor, I love you, but what planet did you just parachute in from? Why have you done this?
I did not.
Do you agree with this decision?
I would need to look at the file. I don't know the context. I don't know the background, the insight. And the decision that Governor Brown would make is whether the parolee is poses an unreasonable risk to the safety of the community. And
Do you think kidnapping 26 juveniles and burying them alive presents a risk to the community?
I certainly believe that if that individual is convicted of those crimes, which it sounds like he would be a risk to the community.
But you don't have an opinion about whether Governor Brown did the right thing?
Again, Senator, I would have to be able to look at the complete file and all of the considerations required of the governor, who's ultimately makes the decision.
So he might have done the right thing, in your opinion?
I would want to look at the complete file in order to make an assessment.
All right, Judge Bulsara. Do you remember a case called J&J Sports Products v. If I mispronounce it, sir, please correct me. Ferraris?
I do recall that case, Senator, yes.
Okay, it was pretty recent, 2020. You're a magistrate judge, right?
I am.
And your decisions have to be reviewed by a federal district court judge?
That's correct.
Okay. You made a ruling in that case, and the district court reversed you.
In part, yes.
And the district court said, quote, these are the judge's words, not mine, that you ignored, quote, a large collection of cases in this district holding that essentially identical allegations are sufficient to state a claim. So your boss said you just ignored a whole line of cases. What's going on here?
Well, Senator Kennedy, the way I recall that case was there's a split in authority about claims that can be brought under the Copyright Act. And there were, in addition to the cases that the district judge cited, there was a whole bevy of other cases going in the other direction. And the Court of Appeals had not ruled on it.
Yeah.
And
But the judge didn't say you looked at both line of cases and decided one was more accurate than the other. He said you totally ignored a line of cases. Did you just disagree with those line of cases?
Senator, I would never ignore a whole line of cases, and I know that was a very lengthy opinion that I issued, and it's my practice in the 1,000 opinions.
Well, I'm going to run out of time. I'm sorry to cut you off, Judge. I don't mean any disrespect. The district court judge says you ignored those cases.
I would respectfully say, as I don't...
Was he wrong?
I'm not going to call a colleague wrong, but I can say that in every case where I write a lengthy opinion, I read all of the applicable authorities. And I know in that particular situation, there's a line of other cases that I have read, and I did so in all of my decisions, and I can expect that I did so in that one as well.
But why did you ignore the line of cases is my point. I can understand you saying, well, there are two line of cases and they conflict, and I find the reasoning more persuasive in this line. The district judge reversed you, said you just totally ignored them. That worries me.
He reversed me only in part, Senator, and in those line of cases, I think there's a split of authority at the district court level. There's no governing Court of Appeals decision or a U.S. Supreme Court decision, which my oath requires me to follow.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
Let's break this down. First up, Judge Coggins. Senator John Kennedy, who, let's be honest, is one of the few senators left asking the right questions, grilled Coggins about her time under California's ultra-liberal Governor Jerry Brown, specifically her role in the parole process. Let me remind you all, Governor Jerry Brown paroled a man who helped kidnap 26 children and buried them alive. That's not a metaphor. That's not an exaggeration. That's what happened in Chowchilla, California in 1976. James Schoenfeld was convicted, locked up, and in 2015 paroled. When asked whether she advised Brown on this decision, Coggins danced around it. She couldn't remember the case. Said she left in 2015. Said she'd have to look at the file. Really? You were advising the governor on parole decisions and you can't recall one of the most heinous crimes in California history being forgiven with a parole stamp? Here's the truth. These judges aren't just detached from reality, they are shielded from consequences. They live in elite circles where the criminal becomes the victim, and the victims become statistics. When asked if she thought kidnapping and burying 26 children alive posed a public risk, she hesitated. She said, if convicted of those crimes, which it sounds like he was, no. He was. Full stop. If you can't clearly say that this man should never walk free, you have no business interpreting laws, let alone deciding cases that affect real people's safety. That brings me to Judge Bulsara, another judicial nominee who was asked about a copyright case. Now, copyright law might sound boring, but this is about integrity, accountability, and competence. Bulsara made a decision in a 2020 case, and guess what? He got reversed by the district judge. What? Because he ignored an entire line of precedent, decades of case law in that jurisdiction. And when Senator Kennedy asked why he ignored that precedent, Bulsara had the nerve to say he would never ignore a whole line of cases, and that there was a split in authority. Let me explain what's going on here. This isn't just about one case. It's about a pattern. These judges are being nominated to lifetime appointments on the federal bench. They make decisions that impact millions of Americans. But instead of respecting precedent, instead of honoring the rule of law, they inject their own ideology into the process. And when caught, they hide behind vague legal jargon and non-answers. If you're a regular American, someone who works hard, pays taxes, and wants safe streets, your voice is not being heard in that courtroom. These are judges who sympathize with criminals, hedge on clear facts, and refuse to admit basic errors. Ask yourself, if a judge can't say definitively that burying children alive is a public safety threat, what else won't they say? Folks, this is how we lose our republic, not in one sweeping blow but case by case, parole by parole, ruling by ruling, until the people writing and interpreting laws no longer represent us. We need to hold our leaders accountable. We need senators like John Kennedy who will speak the truth, cut through the scripted nonsense, and put these nominees under a microscope. Because if we don't, we're going to end up with a federal judiciary that cares more about feelings than facts, more about ideology than law, and more about criminals than communities. It's time to wake up. It's time to fight back. Not with violence, but with our voices, our votes, and our values. This is the Constitution Corner. Subscribe, stay informed, and most importantly, stay free. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. Should someone who hesitates to call out child kidnappers be on the bench? Should a judge who ignores case law be promoted? We are the Constitution Corner, where Americans' root guides its future. Until next time, stand strong, speak truth, and may God bless the United States of America.